Hey guys, so I need to talk to you about the rapper Post Malone because something's been going on with him lately, and I think there could be a big conspiracy going on here. So basically what's happening is that people are saying that he's been acting strange at his concerts, almost as if he's on drugs or something. So people have been posting all over the internet saying that they're concerned about him and hoping that he's okay. He's just been like rolling around the stage and his eyes rolled to the back of his head apparently, and he's just acting weird. Well, at the same time, a lot of his fans are defending him and saying that that's not the case, and he's just being theatrical and he's performing and that's what he does at these shows, and he's totally fine. Well, it got to the point where people were so concerned that even his dad chimed in and said, "We appreciate your concern, but we promise you that he's fine, he's not on drugs, there's nothing to worry about." And then even Post Malone himself went on stage and said that he feels fantastic, he's not doing drugs, and nobody needs to worry. But I personally saw some of the videos of him kind of stumbling on stage, and it got me thinking, could there be another reason why he's having a hard time controlling himself on stage besides drugs or whatever people think it is? So I started doing some research, and it turns out that Post Malone was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. Well, then I come across this article talking about a bunch of animals that were discovered in deplorable conditions in a Syracuse home, which led to 2 arrests. But then I realized that this all happened on Austin Avenue, and Austin just happens to be Post Malone's real name. What are the chances of that? Now, these neglected animals that were recovered from this house were 2 dogs, 3 cats, 2 ferrets, and 2 guinea pigs. Well, then I look at an image of Post Malone, and I've got a little outline of his body here, and guess what just happens to fit perfectly inside of Post Malone's body? 2 dogs, 3 cats, 2 guinea pigs, and 2 ferrets. And so I believe, and I think I can prove, that Post Malone isn't actually human. He's actually a bunch of escaped, abused animals living inside of a human shell, and that is why he is having a hard time walking around stage. And Post Malone is kind of like Voltron, if Voltron was made up of abused animals. Now you're probably wondering, well, how do the animals get inside of him? How do they get in and out of the Post Malone body? Well, if you look at him, you'll notice he has this tattoo across his forehead that appears to be covering up some sort of seam, and perhaps this is how the animals are able to get in and out of the Post Malone shell. Okay, now let's look at some more proof. Look at the name Post Malone. What does that even mean? Nobody knows. Well, if you rearrange those letters, what can you make out of it? Well, for one, you can make meat loops, which I don't know if you knew this, but people from New York refer to ferrets as meat loops. And again, there are ferrets inside of Post Malone. Okay, then I find this video from TMZ talking about how Post Malone had a wild animal adventure. Yeah, I bet he did. But then I find this animal adoption place called Rescue Rovers, and one of the dogs that you could adopt was named Post Malone. What are the chances of that? Okay, but more importantly, at the very bottom of the screen, it says that his age is 24 months. And 24 months is obviously 2 years. And when you convert 2 dog years into human years, it gives you 24 human years. And guess how old Post Malone is? 24 years old. So clearly something's going on here. But in case you're still skeptical, I did some further math here to prove that Post Malone is made up of different animals. So he was born July 4th, 1995, and that Post Malone dog I showed you earlier cost $250 to adopt. Well, if you add 1995 and 250, it gives you $2245, which just happens to be the address to this apartment in Syracuse, New York, where Post Malone lived, and had 1,668 square feet. So I thought, okay, what does that number mean? Well, then I find this image of Post Malone online that's 1,668 pixels wide, and this image can be purchased for $49.99 of whatever currency that is. I'm not looking it up. So now I've got the number 4999, which just happens to be the address to this other animal shelter, which just happens to be in Syracuse, New York. Okay, and right now that place has 275 Google reviews. Well, if you take the 4999 and add the 275 Google reviews, it gives you 5,274. So then I find this website called chart2000.com, and it ranks musicians. And on that list, Post Malone is ranked number 281. So if you take that 5,274 and add the 281, it gives you 5555. So then I thought, what does this number mean? So I look into 5,555, and it gives me the address to this museum in Houston, Texas. And what exhibit does this museum feature? An exhibit where you can go in and try on other people's skin. And it's very realistic skin, and this is how I believe the Post Malone animals got their skin, and created the Post Malone suit. So anyways, clearly a very shocking conspiracy, but you can't really argue with facts and math. So I just hope that Post Malone is okay, and that one day he can be comfortable taking off the skin suit, and the animals can just be set free. On a side note, my Patreon supporters are still trapped or living in my basement, and they've been really well behaved lately, so I thought, you know what, maybe I should go adopt a couple of dogs and lower them into the basement so they can have a little bit of fun. So I went and found a couple of dogs just kind of off the street, and lowered them down, and I haven't checked on them in a while, but I assume they're having a good time though. Anyways, if you want to join the Patreons in the basement, there's a link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.